And we're live.
Mo's the boss.
We're live. We're live.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. Welcome everyone to the Public Works Urban Beautification meeting for August 11th. Open session meeting, call to order. Declarations of conflict of interest. Do I see any? I see none. Thank you very much. Approval of the agenda. I'll need a move by Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Ramsey, and you would like to add something?
Yes, we had this discussion Monday night. Councillor Yanka, Ward 1, did bring it up regarding stop signs at some different locations. Can we put that on the agenda, please?
I don't have a problem. It all depends on what the rest of everyone else thinks. So, we all good, guys?
And I have one other thing.
Sure.
Are we gonna discuss that pilot project?
The metal.
No, the pilot project on Great George Street that's gotten.
Oh, do you want to put that on? Sure.
Just, I mean.
Yeah, that's a good place to put on. Okay,
The coffee.
the coffee, the
Yeah,
bakeries,
the gas floor.
the patio, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put them both under, we'll put them under new business.
Okay.
And so, anything else? That's good? Okay.
Great.
So, adoption of the minutes. I need to move by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Mike Duffy. July 22nd of 2021. Business arising from those minutes.
Mr. Chair, I keep bringing this up. I've been a little dry bringing it up all the time, but I will continue to bring it up. The Friends of the Farm,
Oh,
they do have a beautiful crown garden there in Experimental Farm. Sharon Larder did phone the Department of Agriculture, federal government, to access water from Ravenwood, the home. Ravenwood is shut down.
oh,
No access to it. And if they had to, it would be about a 300-foot hose that would have to extend from the home. And there are utility buildings in there. They're all completely shut down. So access to water from any of the experimental farming properties, out of the question. Now, I've already said this before, and I'll say it again. We are doing a great job in water in our Adopt the Corners. And I know the Kirk of St. James did a great floral presentation at the corner of Fitzroy and Pownell. Cook's Insurance, great job. What do? We do the water. And that's all about collaboration. So, those plants are pretty dry out there at the Crown Garden in Experimental Farm. We need water. And Mr. Kelly suggested, we'll give them $1,000 under grants and we'll get the Ford washing to do. Ford's
mobile water.
mobile washing. And they tried to contact them, but I said, look, I think we have 3 vehicles, watering vehicles. Two, and one with Parks and Recreation. All we do is, if it's $1,000, we just transfer one of the budget line items to Public Works to take care of. I don't think we should contract him. So, they need water. That's why I'm
Mr. Chair, for the life of me, with all due respect, Your Worship, for the life of me, I don't know why we're out there to begin with. It's not city property, it's not city right away, it's a federal government property. Federal government's got many dollars. I don't know, Phil, why we're there, really. I just don't understand it. We have a crew that plants flowers around the city, as you've pointed out. But those are on the city right-of-ways. This is private property, it's owned by the federal government. I don't understand why it even got started.
It started before I came.
It started before I came, too.
Right, and it's been going on for a
So-
number of years.
Yeah.
So I always look at, Councillor Duffy, there's a convention that has been set up. We've been practicing that convention. I'm not asking to add new properties that don't belong to the city. This has been in the system. It's just a matter of, I think, 5 to 7 minutes of watering, boom, they're gone. And if it rains out, no water.
But Your Worship, they went ahead, they knew there was no water, and they went ahead and planted anyway. Like now they think they have us in a spot. Well, they don't have me in a spot.
No.
They knew, I just get so exasperated. We spend so much time on this foolishness that Anyway,
To them, Councillor Duffy, it's a very important part of what they do with that farm.
well, why do they go to the Rotary Club or the Lions Club and get some donations from them to assist them in their finances? And like,
I think they do. I think they do.
I don't know, what we pay for the flowers, and we've been, up until 2 or 3 years ago, we did provide the water.
Yeah.
But then, because of, I don't know, Scott, you know better than I do,
Yeah.
why did we stop? Was it written somewhere that?
Because our policy says we don't do.
Yeah, well, but again, we are doing properties that are planted by private entities here in the city. We take care of that. Look, Scott, I understand. That's a fine
So,
line.
May,
For
so,
so many years.
two things. Are we doing some flower beds, pots, whatever, off city property?
As far as I'm aware, every flower bed that we water is within the public right of way.
Right, something that we're not doing, okay. So my other question is, because the type of building is down, what do you call it, Ravenwood?
Raymond is
Yeah,
shut
I mean,
down.
could we say, in the goodwill of trying to keep things bright and green, could we do it for the summer, but with a strict to say that, look, once Ravenwood is back up and running, like,
It never happened, Mr. Chair.
because it's, you know, it's really, it's on federal land, I mean, there should be no reason why somebody couldn't be watering that, like, besides the city of Charlotte, but,
Mr. Chair, sorry, they may never be open.
Oh, is that right?
In Ravenwood, which means that,
okay.
as Council.
No, I didn't realize.
It will go on forever.
I didn't
But
realize that.
Ravenwood now is a 200-year-old building. They're not tearing that down. That building has been there for 2 centuries, and it's an historic building, so it's not going to be torn down. I think the feds are looking at how they can restore it. But in the meantime, look, we have a senior group of mostly women that are taking care of this beautiful garden that is used for backdrops, for weddings and so forth. As Councilor Duffy said, why do we just have to keep going? I'm just asking, water it and let's move on.
You want to say?
Yes, and just, Mr. Chair, just in thinking here, I think it was about 2 years ago, we had a not-for-profit group kind of also approach us for a similar request. And what we actually ended up recommending is advising them to work with UPEI, the students, the first-year students have a program that they do design projects. And they designed them a multi-rain barrel system with a small little pump that collects water off a small building nearby. And ever since then, their members have been super happy. It's been working out very, very well. It might be something that we could suggest to them to create this system that could take advantage of rainwater and put it back on their membership.
I know there is one at Desby Crescent there, at Desby Park, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The battery operated building.
And they access our city water, because they did get money under the Cotton Fund to build that water building they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a good project for environment, for.
Are we talking about,
with the
oh,
grant.
sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Are we talking about just that little half circle that goes up there?
Yeah.
Where they go and get their wedding pictures
Yeah.
and all that stuff?
Yeah. So,
Like, I'm torn between both. Like, I see the mayor's point plus I also see Mike's point too. Because once we start doing it, though, to Mike's point, and I agree with this, then it's gonna be always doing it. And then is our neighbors or somebody else in some other board's gonna say, well, you're doing that? What about Ward 5? What about Ward 7? What about 4? I mean, that perception's gonna be out there, correct? That he was the same, Mr. Chairman, on Kensington Road about the rocks, the stones, right? If we do it in one yard, then we're gonna have to go do it in another yard. And so, it's not a hill that I'm gonna die on, because it shouldn't take too long to water it at the same
7
time.
minutes. And with the water, Mr. Chair, use the water barrels, the rain barrels. This garden, as you know, you've been out there, you can't walk into the center of it.
no.
You have to spray.
Yeah.
There has to be a system, a mechanism. It's not you can take a,
But would the pump not work in the hose?
yeah, but
They're small pumps.
I mean, let's get them a free rain barrel or two, because we heard from Richard, they got a couple left, I think, at that time. And let's,
I mean, I do it at home, I have a three-quarter,
we can't be doing that work.
three-quarter horsepower motor. and
am I right or wrong?
I can water my whole lawn from here.
Yeah,
It's great, works great.
well, let's give them that option with the rain barrels.
yeah, you can do that, but it's getting dry. We have to water.
Oh, I know, because I was out this morning watering my plants.
So,
Glad you didn't drive by.
Scott, if we were to hook up something, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
We wouldn't have the resources or time right now to try to design something for them. It's a pretty basic setup though, really. You just tie everything together with a couple of different ABS pipes, one that
Yeah, I think
connects
some-
that draws down and one at the top that allows the overflow to keep filling up. And then a small little electric pump with us. And it can be simple as a
Connection.
power pump. It can be a solar power
No,
pump.
they do a solar,
Yeah. Mhm.
they do actually, yeah,
Yeah.
solar panel on the roof.
I'm pretty sure that's
Stores
the
the back.
solar.
Yeah, it's solar.
Yeah.
And I suggest, your worship, that you bring that option back to them, maybe, if
Well,
you'd
no,
like to.
the option, this is live stream, I'm sure they're watching it, and there's an interim right now. It's dry, and it's gonna be dry for the next couple of weeks.
Oh, yes.
With the water, so, yay or nay?
Your
Okay,
worship-
so-
Your worship,
Go-
Mr. Chair, why don't you check with Mr. McEwen and see if the infrastructure out there, even though Ravenwood is shut down, there's still pipe works that are coming out of the buildings. If the infrastructure out there is still there, why couldn't Mr. McEwen, our utility person, charge one of the network of piping, and then take their $1,000 and buy a hose?
To set up.
We own the water department, it is the city of Charlotte.
Right.
So are we paying for that infrastructure as well, plus the annual water bill?
No, it's already in the ground.
Yes, but once you turn the tap on and you put
Yeah.
the meter on it, there's the meter charge.
Well, they can use their $1,000 to pay for the water and the hose.
Then you have to prime it in the winter, because you can't keep the water there.
Well,
Look, guys.
no, it's
Yeah,
less
where-
than
excuse me,
frost.
where are you at with this? What's your thoughts? I know, it's tough.
It is.
I just think, oh my gosh, give
People the water.
this group of volunteers some water.
Yeah,
Um,
and we're gonna.
But we do need a path moving forward too.
Well, I think we've explained what the path would be, and that is to build the infrastructure there for them to have their own water come off of rain, off of rain.
Well, the feds can
But
build the infrastructure.
that would take longer than what the garden life has left, the flowers have left. So I would say for the rest of the summer with water, they'll apply for grant, apply
Under water and sewer.
under water sewer,
Yeah.
and to get this infrastructure put in place for next year.
No, it's already there.
But to set up the system.
Yeah, but to set up some type of, whether
Rain
it's a
barrels,
hose and rain barrels or something, or water sewer's idea of tapping a resource that's already there.
Yeah, like they did
Yeah.
at Desborough Park, they tapped into our water line.
Yeah,
So that little watershed building,
Yeah.
the water building they have, or what is it?
it's a working
It's
shed.
access to water, it's a tap.
See, that's already there.
Yeah,
They could buy a hose this afternoon at Canadian Tire, hook it onto a tap, get McEwen to charge the line,
Right.
and then water the flowers.
Right.
I mean, it's not a time
So
consuming.
we can check that, Mr. Chair.
yeah, let's do that. And then,
We need some water.
but they do need the water, so let's,
I
we-
suggest just water for this year, and
Yes.
then I'd like to come back with all these suggestions to them for next year, because they have all winter to,
yeah, just say that this is a one-shot deal for the rest of
is
summer.
this what, the middle of
and
August
years.
right now?
Right.
Councilor Duffy, the issue on that Desborough Park, that's a very tight group that works very collaboratively. They're all an organization, and they did seek funding from the Brockman Institute, or the Brockman Foundation, Cooper Institute, Cotton, the Cotton Fund, the Robert K. Cotton Fund, so
Yeah.
lots of opportunities for this group to do the same
Yeah.
thing.
But that's on public property, correct?
That is.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's the cutting line.
That's it.
This
That's
is
our
not on
problem.
public property, this is on federal property. This is Mr. Trudeau's.
Well, it's not Mr. Trudeau's.
Well,
It's been for
it's
Canada.
37 million on this.
Yeah. Okay, so, do we have to do a motion for that? No, your staff is just gonna look into it.
And we'll go get and see how quick we can do it.
Yes, and if not, at least a couple splashes of water would be
But as
nice.
long as, sort of, Chair, as long as it's explained with this group,
Yeah.
that we'll do it, because this is the middle of August, as I
Yeah.
said, and it's gonna be probably another month or so, and then, but they gotta work on the plan for next year.
Yeah.
Is that fair, brother?
Yeah.
That's it.
we're gonna-
That's-
That gives them 7 months or 6 months, wherever
Yeah.
to work on
But
something.
Mr. Chair, what were they gonna do if we all said no today?
What would we do?
Yeah, no, what were they gonna do?
Oh, Well, I think they're trying to water manually themselves is what they're doing. They're bringing a jug from home and they're doing their best to try and do it. But it's like me with my cemetery. It gets a...
You own a cemetery?
No, I don't want to, but I have a lot of people up there.
That's a conflict, isn't it?
But, you know, you just don't find the time to get to it the way you should and
Yeah,
think,
I
right, so, yeah. So, anyway, we good?
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay, so, anything else under the minutes? Great, okay. Reports, enterprise fleet management proposal. Who's got it, Scott or Steve?
I guess I'll do a bit of a quick introduction, and
Okay.
then I'll let Stephen kind of run through the questions and answers, some of the broad ones. So since the last time this was at committee and council, there was a number of questions brought up, both by councilors, as well as there was questions brought up during that public meeting with the Automobile Association. So both Steve Mudlock, who's on vacation this week, and Steve McFadgen, went through that video and tried to pull in questions received from councilors, put them all together, and then we met with Enterprise from Rent-A-Car, or Enterprise Fleet Management, their rep, and got very detailed answers from for each question that we had. So in your package, you'll see about, I think, 4 pages long, kind of highlighting the question and how they meet or exceed, or how they work within that. So I guess I'll kick it over to Stephen to kind of go through each item.
Yeah,
Just
so,
a
I mean,
point of order, Mr. Chair. So I know at our meeting last week, or previously, we did talk with the Prince Edward Automobile Dealers Association. Did we reach out to them?
we did not.
That was asked.
So, that's the reason we did not is because we were able to get all of the answers of the questions that were posed from the council meeting and from the Public Works Committee. We wrote every single question down, and every single question that was asked, none were directed towards, there wasn't any question towards the Automobile Association that we had to call and get clarity on.
As a follow-up, your worship, as a will they get a copy, will the automobile people get a copy of this?
We can definitely provide it to them.
Yeah.
We want to bring this first here to the committee,
Yeah.
to introduce it to the committee, but we can definitely provide them a copy with it. We'll get the contact information.
So
Yeah, I
basically
think
what we
that-
did is, so during the council meeting, we literally paused, wrote the question down. Next person doc wrote the question down. We did that for the same for the Public
Right.
Works Committee meeting. Did the same thing, and then we literally went back, okay, what's the answer for this? What's the answer for this?
I think, you know, they took the time to come in and express their concerns, so the least I think we should do is at least give them the answers to the questions that they had.
Right.
Yeah, we asked at the
Yeah.
meeting with them and the
Yeah.
Public Works.
Yeah.
So we have, like, part of this, and I don't know if everyone's had a chance to read it, I didn't want me to read it to you. Any of the questions that were brought up is part of this package, so I know Peter McDonald has some, Lisa had a couple, so they're all answered within this format of concerns that they had with regards to ordering if they don't have stock, all that kind of stuff was addressed in that package as well.
So I guess for me, the only one question that really lingers in my mind is, for the life of them, they couldn't understand how we were going to make the savings in which fleet management said we were going to make.
So two of the biggest questions, one was, how did Enterprise get selected?
Right.
Steve Woodlock touched on it. The
Right.
FCM.
Through the FCM,
went out
yeah.
for tender. We found out there were 6 companies that bid on it. Any dealership in Charlottetown had the option to take part in that process. Enterprise was the successful candidate. The other big question that was asked is, if the pricing. So what happens is, right now, when we go out to tender, government agencies and corporate agencies that are large enough get fleet discount pricing. So there's a deadline that you kind of have to put your orders in, and you order through the dealership, and the dealership works with the manufacturer. They provide a price, they work out that between the dealership and the manufacturer, whether it's GM, Ford, Dodge,
Yeah.
whoever it happens to be. And they provide that pricing to, whether it's us or Enterprise, depending on who asks the question, and it can be us asking that question through a tender process, even if we wanted to keep that process in place. But every single vehicle would be ordered directly through the dealership. What the price works out that they're providing us is between GM and the vendor. So if Hillside is providing a GMC for us, whatever price and whatever markup they agree with their distributor, that price comes to us. So they're the one that's supplying the price based on the current inventory. If we miss the deadline of before they go into, like when they're doing factory orders, then we have the option of buying it off the lot. So in that case, if there's a fleet discount available, the city would be entitled to it. If it's not, you'd be paying, like if you were to go buy a truck, we'd have that option. You'd set up the same type of lease agreement through it. That's our understanding of that. In terms of the repairs, we can decide where they go. They have a software thing that I actually got a chance to look at and see how it functions. It's easier for us than the system we currently use. It tracks all of our fleet repairs. They're billing wise, there are 3 Reliable, Winslow Service Station. And who's the third?
Yeah.
All are set up on that system now. Works the same deal as a credit card company. If I go in and pay with the city Visa, which 85% of the time when we're doing repair at a facility, that's how we're going to pay for it versus through a purchase order. They have a fee that's charged, and I think the fees are listed in that report. They range from like 1.25% to 3%.
Yeah, it's there.
And the auto integrate system works the same way. That's directly taken off of that invoice cost. It doesn't come through the city. It operates just like a credit card.
And it's free for any company to be part of the system. They just have to have a computer and internet, which every company does. And how it works is essentially their technician inspects the vehicle. This is what needs to be done, repaired to the vehicle. They input that in the system, and pretty quickly, it's either immediately auto-approved by the computer, if I remember correctly, depending on the repair. If it's more extensive, then they have a fleet, or they have 200 trained mechanics that are constantly monitoring the system, that look at the repair. They check, how many hours are the estimates going to cost, just to make sure it makes sense, because at the end of the day, they're trying to protect their client, that they're not getting overcharged for a repair. They may also say, if the mechanic at the local shop says, this is the issue and this is what we think the repair, they can also contact the vendor and say, oh, we've seen that issue before. We don't think it's that. Can you check this out first? So they also do that where, sometimes you may not know that, our mechanics may not have time to do that. That's what that check and balance is for, that. Once their mechanics are satisfied that the repairs is necessary, they just automatically approve it, and the purchase order is created for the local vendor, and they do the work. They submit their invoice, and I think it's an EFT at the end of the day, or something of that nature. They get paid right away.
So can any of the automobile members, association members, is there a deadline as to when they could sign up to be a partner of Enterprise to do some of those?
Right now, Reliable is already a part of it.
Right.
And so is Winslow Service Station, both vendors we use right now to do repairs.
And if any one of the others wanted
At
to,
any time,
they can jump
just a
on.
phone call and they'll walk them through it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Steve, could you just check with the Reliable if they're still Enterprise fleet and go back to your office?
They're not, it's not Enterprise that they're part of, it's the auto integrate system.
Yeah, just check with, if you could, verify that. I think there's been some changes there.
They verified it, they checked, he was on the computer,
Just today?
he about a week ago.
Last Tuesday.
He ran the report to confirm what was on that system.
Bring on the phone manager, which is Ronnie Martin, just ask him, and you can follow up.
Who was it?
Rodney Martin.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, yes,
one
Mr.
question I had when the presenter from the group, the TEI group, she kept referring to, this is the gist of what she said, there's not only third payers that have to be paid under this proposal, there's fourth payers too, like there's another layer that there may be, and I don't see that in here, and I don't understand what she meant, but what are the fourth payers for? Like, there's always sometimes there's a third party involved in any transaction back when there's a third party who's either brought in for expertise or whatever it has to be paid. The spokesperson, who there's no sense in naming her name, she was speaking on their behalf. She said in some cases there's a fourth individual that has to be paid.
Lisa Doyle will be paying it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wasn't saying.
So the city would pay a fee to a fourth party through fees to a third party to have service to have service work completed rather than going to a PEI dealership directly for service work.
That's right, okay, that's exactly, your worship,
So
but that's not in here.
That's not the process that was explained to us.
Yeah.
Through enterprise.
Through enterprise, through the auto integrate system.
So I would think if we were to give this document to Ms. Dora McBain, that has to be resolved, because like I said before, we have to have the facts,
Right.
not the opinions or the dreams or whatever. We need the facts to be, because this is going to be a large contract.
And the process is very straightforward for a vehicle repair.
Yeah.
Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong. We have a vehicle issue, we make an appointment to take it in.
Yep.
We take it into one of the dealers that are on the auto integrated system. Their mechanic inspects it, determines what the repairs need, which is pretty standard. They always tell you, you need new brakes and rotors, do I have permission to continue on? That's standard. I don't know any other mechanic that does not do that. They would enter it into this auto integrate system. Again, if it's a standard repair, it's an automatic approval. If it's a little more complicated, one of the mechanics at Enterprise Fleet, at the end, they look at it and make sure that all the repairs seem necessary based on the opinion of the mechanic. Then they approve it, the work's done. Then the mechanic puts in the work is done and they get paid, and we get our vehicle back. So it's, and again, there's a service charge when payment, just like a Visa or credit card, MasterCard, if you went and paid. So there's no fourth party, not quite sure what the fourth party is meant by that.
I thought maybe it was Buzzards or one of those, Buzzards or,
No.
you know, the parts place.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, so we'll hopefully get an answer from
Yeah.
them.
That's a good point, Councillor Duffy, because Lisa is, as you know, the executive director
Yeah.
of the Prince Edward Automobile Dealers Association, and I went through her presentation again, and again, I just go back to collectively, the 13 Charlottetown dealerships are paying $881,000 in 2021 property taxes. And you also said, Scott, that I asked you the trucks that we have for summer, like I think Steve has one, it's from Enterprise. We don't lease them, we rent them.
We rent, I think, 8.
Yeah, there's 8 short-term rentals.
Because you can't rent them here on the island.
Well, Enterprise, it's through Enterprise.
No, but I mean, but they're
So
basically.
what you'll notice is if you go to any rental company right now, 95% of the plates that are on rental vehicles are out of province.
Yes.
You know, look at U-Haul, that's one thing that stands out to me.
Yeah,
They have Arizona plates, you know, it's
Cheaper,
It's cheaper.
cheaper per registration.
And we've accessed through the FCM, so that's, you know, that's something that the city.
So-
And just one last point, Mr. Chair, on the FCM,
Yeah.
that's Federation of Canadian Municipalities. When they do a call, right, they don't always send this invite tender to the local dealerships.
Right.
It's a national program.
Right.
So they're going after national dealerships or national rental or leasing companies. They don't go to the reliables, they don't, unless they have a procurement person on staff or a tendering person that is searching all these tenders.
So I asked that question,
Yes.
and my understanding is it's kind of like our system here, so if someone comes in to see me at Public Works and says, hey Steve, we sell this, or we service this, or we can do this for the city,
Yeah.
I always take their card, I send it to finance to say, can you add
Correct.
John Doe to this list? They get the email. The Sourcewell FCM thing, every vendor that wants to be on that contact list,
Yeah.
it's up to them, like every other salesperson that comes to us, to get their name on that contact list.
Right.
But they're local companies, they're not international, arena.
Well, it doesn't matter though, they could be a local company and be part of a national bid,
Yeah.
if they wanted.
But I mean, the dealerships themselves, like Farrell, Ford, and GMC and all that, they should be filtering that information down to their affiliates, right? I mean, that's not our responsibility to see. But at the end of the day, I think there's still questions there they would like answered. And but anyway, I'm going to let Kevin go here. He was-
Thank you, Steve, for all your detailed reports. Sorry, Lynn, did I go ahead of you?
No,
Okay.
no, you were first.
And I noticed the question I asked is what other cities and all that are involved with this program? What was their response to all this? Like, I hope it's not like other websites that only the
So
good ones
they
are on there.
they listed all the municipalities,
Yes.
enterprise government clients.
It's in the background.
No, I got it here, I just wanted.
That was their answer, that they've listed the local companies within the Maritimes is listed in the report. And this is currently the government or municipal government people that are currently working with them. But like, I think it's new in, I want to say 2019. Canada, something, don't quote me on the date, but it's somewhere around that, so.
But they're satisfied with the service. I guess is what I'm asking, like all these cities.
Yeah, so one of the things I like about the contract, Kevin, is that, let's say we decide, okay, we're gonna lease 5 vehicles this year. If after the 5, if in 10 months' time we think this auto integrate system is a pain in the butt to the local dealerships here, they're calling us with complaints, whatever happens to be, we can say, sorry Enterprise, this ain't for us. And we can end the contract right there with no penalty. Then the city can decide, do we carry out that lease because we got a good dollar value or whatever it is it the best bang for the buck to keep that term of the lease and then decide what to do with it at the end of the term, like any one of us would do with their own personal vehicle. Or we could sell it at the current market value and just completely get out of it. And then we wash our hands and we walk away.
So just circling back, I don't think you ever answered. Like, of all the names that Enterprise gave you for all the municipalities,
Yeah,
is every one of them very pleased with this program?
I couldn't answer that.
Well, Kevin, if they weren't pleased,
I think they'd be-
per the lease agreement, the city has the option to terminate its agreement with Enterprise at any time without penalty. So if they weren't pleased with the service, they wouldn't hang in there. They'd say, I'm out of
See you
here.
later.
No, but my point, Mike, is that sometimes on these websites and all that, like, they only put the positive stuff on. I mean, don't put the negative stuff on, like our friend, remember?
But if there is negative, you would quit, would you not?
You would hope they would, yes. Okay.
Anyway, Lana.
Probably just to build on some of Kevin's comments. I was looking at the enterprise list. Like, Ontario has 444 municipalities and there's 9 using it. And then when it comes to Alberta, we have 69 counties and 107 towns, and we've got 1 town and 9 counties using it. So that just makes me wonder if we need to do a little bit more investigation on whether or not it is, if the city of Charlottetown is ready for this. That's just my thoughts.
Fully agree with you, Councilor Minnick.
No, that's a great point.
For me, I do notice the clients in Atlantic Canada, none of them are municipalities.
We would be the first.
We'd be the first. So, for me, where I'm at with this, I think it's great. You done wonderful work. You answered all the questions, but I still think we should meet with the Automobile Association.
Or at least send them this report.
You know,
Yeah, they should have a chance to review it before they meet with us.
I'd like to meet with them. I mean, if we're really good with this thing, if we're really happy with this, well then there shouldn't be any problem why we can't confront them and meet them and say, well, here's the answer for all of it. That's all I'm saying. I just, maybe, there could be something we could learn by meeting with them. That's all I'm saying. There could be something we're missing. So why not have the
I mean, this
conversation?
committee's not,
We still got to vote eventually, one way or the other anyway, so, but.
I mean, we're not against it or any of that, but we just want to have questions, so when the dealerships or whoever it is ask us the questions, we have to have the answers.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
All we can do is.
and we're the only ones that knock on doors.
And the thing for us is like, the way I see our role is that this opportunity was available to the city. There's savings to be had. We have a responsibility to bring that to the.
That's right.
That's right.
You do.
You're
Exactly.
exactly right.
And give you the facts as
The
we
facts,
understand it.
yeah.
So these are the facts as we understand it from
Yeah.
Enterprise's
Right. Yeah.
system. I think it's a good deal for the
Yeah.
city.
I think,
Has our system worked for the last 35 years? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We're driving trucks, whatnot. Are we getting the savings, and do we have the staff to be able to manage our fleet the way that it should be managed when you compare it to other municipalities? No, not even close. So this does help the city as a whole in terms of that process. Most people that are doing fleet are just doing fleet.
Yeah.
That's their whole entire
That's their
whole portfolio. They don't have other things on top of that. I mean, all we've done is, here's the information. I'm not sure what's gained by meeting with the automobile. I mean, that's up to you guys to do. But I'm not sure what other information you're going to get from them, other than that I think they'd like us to go directly to their lot.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that's more profitable
Yeah.
for them. But I'm confident in terms of like every vehicle will be purchased in Charlottetown You know, that's one thing that we have
Yeah.
full control over. Right now, our last number of tenders, as you said, is on
And,
summer
you know,
side.
in their comments, they don't believe that.
Right, well, I don't know.
And
what
we
can do.
couldn't really answer them at
We
the time.
I believe he said that can even be part of the contract, when we enter into a contract, we state where we go.
Yeah.
It must be these
Yeah.
dealerships that are sourced
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah.
And so, Mr. Chair, Steve, I appreciate the work you have put into it, and for the committee to be part of round 2, round 3. But these are difficult times for the automobile dealers because they can't get product. I drove by Fairhouse Ford last night.
Oh, it's
Like, it's
pretty
empty.
big. Yeah, it's pretty big.
It's empty. You go to Reliable, like, you got salesmen walking around bumping into each other, spilling coffee all over the floor because there's nothing there to sell. Like, and everything's being trapped up in the big manufacturing plants because they can't get the chips, they can't get, the staff, even staff have left because of COVID-19. So it's a really difficult time and a lot of stress. And I just don't want to add this as another stressor and to say, hey, we're looking at doing this, so you better sharpen your pencil. I think we've been trying to be open, we've been very open and transparent, and I agree with the chair.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet with them again.
I just think that, you know, there might not be anything to gain, you know, from,
You're right.
but at the same time, I think it's to be completely honest and open with people in the industry. You know, they really hit the blinders on because they just couldn't see how this could ever happen. Like so,
The savings alone.
you know, right?
And if we could send this out to them, Mr. Chair. Again, I don't know if council will change or not.
No.
But I think we all agree that they should get the report for sure.
Yeah.
And then if they have any other questions from there, we can then respond. But I think to be fair, staff have done their homework.
Mhm.
And let's get
Oh,
out,
they did.
and let's get out to the association and see what they have to say.
Yeah.
And the
Mr.
golden
Chair,
nugget
but-
in the whole thing is,
Go ahead, Mr. Duffy.
I was just going to say, could we ask Mr. Wedlock to contact the informant or the guy at the fleet, what is it? Enterprise Fleet Management, and ask the question, how come the listing of enterprise government clients in Canada only has Ontario and Alberta?
We did ask that question.
And what is the answer to that?
They're so new. They're kind of.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in the process of getting into the community market.
Yeah.
So that's the answer we got.
Okay. The second part of that, Mr. Chair, is as long as we have the clause, which is here, which says, per the lease agreement, the city has the option to terminate its agreement with Enterprise at any time without penalty. I mean, if I was dealing personally with a company and that clause was there,
Yeah.
I would have no concerns whatsoever, because the worst thing that can happen to me is I back out of the agreement. I think we owe it to the city and the residents, and this increased business to these folks, I hope so. Like, it's all in one tidy package.
Yeah, but-
I don't see anywhere where, like, I read it all, I read it twice, in fact. I don't see anywhere there's a crack in the armor that would cause concern to our own people here. And it's not, and that, as far as the city is, if it turns out to be a white elephant, we just back out.
Yeah.
Send them a letter, a registered letter, you know? I think we have to give them a shot.
For sure.
And hopefully, the automobile dealers here benefit, City of Charlottetown benefits. Thank you,
But,
Richard.
you know, just before you land, you know, for me, I mean, it's important that the city saves money anywhere we can to keep taxes down at a reasonable rate. But at the same time, these folks are tax-paying citizens as well, right? And I think we owe it to them to fully, if they've got questions, you know, the Automobile Association is a big group of people, and, you know, and I just think we owe them an explanation to questions that Mr. McDonald had a hard time believing that we're gonna save money, and he's a guy that's been around the automobile business a long time, and
Second, third generation.
my antennas go up when I hear that and say, well, does it hurt to really sit down with this man and get his thoughts on it? Does it
Give him
really
this
hurt?
thing.
Yeah,
Give him this.
does it really hurt to sit with him and say, there it is? Like, and then when we release it, or if we go for it and we release it, then, you know, there's nothing to come out of it but good news. But if you don't involve the people that have problems with it, or they don't understand, it's our job to make them understand,
Yeah.
or to see why we're doing what we're doing. That's all. That's where I'm at. Anyway, Elena.
Would it be appropriate for the manager of fleet management for Charlottetown to give a call to a few of the municipalities in Ontario and Alberta that have been using this service and get,
Oh, yeah,
you
that's.
know, almost like a, not so much a reference check, but
I believe
just a,
Stephen Wedlock has actually done that with him off this week. I'm not sure the answer's back, but when Stephen and I met, I kind of read it as if they weren't happy with being able to leave, that they wouldn't be still listed as a client. That's kind of the way I took that. But I know Stephen has made contact with some of those references to see.
would we ever be able to see those?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, once Steve's back, we'll ask him to
That's a good-
circulate those, and all the correspondence.
I think that all of that stuff to be put into a report, if and when eventually this goes to council, would be important.
And the golden nugget that I keep saying, and Mike touched on it too, is if council votes in favor of the enterprise project and it goes ahead, we still have that golden nugget, as I keep saying, the option of pulling out if the wheels fall off. Any which way or loose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's our safety net, I guess, is what I'm saying. But I'm the same as the chair, like, we should send this off to the automobile associations and let them have some questions, and, because we don't have all the answers. I mean, we're only going by these reports, and we have to, as I keep saying, answer to the residents and to all these businesses in Charlottetown. I mean, we can play this COVID-19 until we're sick in the face, how people are hurting and everything like that, but you just gotta walk around the city the last week or so. Our city is sort of picking up a bit. There's a lot of people around. I was around last night. But at the same time, it is not our fault, your worship, that these that these dealerships cannot get the inventory. I mean, we can't be held hostage because they can't get the inventory. That's why I asked the question the other night, is there's only one dealership put in for $750,000 tender. So what gives him the right to think that he can get them when our friends in the city of Charlottetown cannot get them? So does he have an inside lane and this stuff, or, and I asked if there's a penalty towards it too, for every day you're late? And I think he said $100 a day or something, was it Mr. Kelly?
There is a penalty, yeah.
So we have to start protecting ourselves that much more too.
Okay,
Okay?
Can I say just one thing too?
Oh, sorry, Scott.
No worries. I just want to kind of on final note too, we gotta remember, this is fleet management. It's taking the good work Stephen has done
Oh,
today,
yeah.
he's
Oh,
done some
100%.
phenomenal work, and pretty much put it on steroids, really. They have the resource behind them to do the analytics and determine when the best time to sell, buy, all this good stuff. This is not trying to buy vehicles in bulk and sell them to
No.
us at a bulk rate by any means.
that's right.
It's literally the fleet management, the great work Stephen does, and brings it up, puts it on steroids, really, at the end of the day. It's the end goal of this.
Yeah. Oh no, staff did a great job.
I feel like we got as much information as we.
Oh, yeah, you can't do any more with
No,
that.
okay. No.
From the enterprise side, if
Yeah.
there's other questions that are generated after we share this with the automobile association, that we can go back and try to find those answers, then that's our job. Give you guys the information and allow you guys to make the
That's right.
decision the most informed way you can.
I mean, there's nobody here knocking the staff, and just,
No.
see, we just need the answers.
Absolutely.
As Mike said, the facts.
Okay, so,
How do we want the report presented to them? Are we comfortable sending it as is?
No problem. I know what you feel.
Because I can do a little cover page. It's like, here's questions that were
yeah,
posed.
do a little bit, yeah. dress
Well,
up.
here's the questions that were posed by both the automobile association and
Yeah,
councilors.
that would be nice,
And here's a
Yeah.
report based on that.
based on
information.
those questions, yeah.
And if
Yeah, that'd be
given
good.
to the director, then she could get out to all its members.
Well, it goes to Lisa, she'll send it.
Yeah, give it to
Yeah,
Lisa
that's
and let her go. Okay, no, that makes sense, that's good idea,
Okay,
Steve.
great job, Steve.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll do that up and then do you want me to send it to you, Scott?
Yeah.
okay, and we'll kind of wait for a response, will we? And then move it to council.
Yeah.
We could ask for a response by a certain date.
I think we're looking at the 23rd,
23rd, well, that's right too.
August 23rd,
Okay.
last Monday.
So I can,
Okay.
I could have it in their hands by the 17th, which is Tuesday.
That'd be good.
And Steve, we have to postpone it or move
If
it.
they got a lot of issues, we could always defer.
We just do
Okay, okay, I'm not too concerned.
Yeah. Okay.
You're free to go.
You call me.
No caller IDs. God
I
knows
hate
what that is.
Don't I, like, you guys have no idea how aggravating that is when you just phone us.
What's that?
Oh, I hate
Oh.
someone tells me no caller, I hate it.
Probably down to the association. Okay,
Thanks again, Steve.
Stephen, thank you for all your time and effort. Great job.
Okay.
Okay, so.
You check the mail.
Checks. On the introduction of new business, so we have two things added to the agenda this evening, this afternoon. Stop signs was number one by the mayor, so you're up on the
Mr.
phone.
Chair, I've been speaking to you about this, and the other night, the esteemed councillor from Ward 1, Councillor Yankoff, brought up the issue, especially the corner of Water and Hillsborough Streets. I know that some of the staff at the Abbott Assembly of Councils have concerns about the traffic, and luckily we don't have the cruise traffic, because it would be very much an action waiting possibly every day. They're asking for a four-way stop.
Similar to the one that we have right up by Prince Water. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah,
And-
we're doing an evaluation just to check the warrants, to make sure it meets the warrants.
And-
I believe that count's scheduled for, if it hasn't been done, I think it's next week. There's a number of counts that we're doing right now. We have a lot of traffic studies on the go. And once that count's done, then we can run it through our calculations, and we'll bring it back to, just to let you know where it's at.
And speaking to some residents, Mr. Chair, on Hawthorne,
Oh, gee.
there's a lot of issues of traffic, well, do I say exceeding speed, or just, it's always a fast track between, what I say, St. Peter's Road and Kensington Road?
It's become a fairly good cut through, really. And
And I'm asking that we install a stop sign, whether it's on Second Street or First Street, to slow down the traffic. Now, not to slow down the traffic, I shouldn't say it. That's what stop signs are not. They're not, that's not the purpose of it, right? They're basically to stop vehicles. But I know going to Goodwill in York Lane, there's a new stop sign there. I've been down to Ward 1 on Pownell and Richmond,
Yeah.
and then Pownell and Dorchester. So we put them up, and they are working. People are not just stopping, they are ensuring that pedestrian traffic are able to go from one side to the other. So they do serve a purpose. No different than the signage that I've been asking for at the corner of McGill and Ambrose, three-way stop. So those are the three stops, and I know you've been studying them.
Yeah, so
So
a
I'll
little
give
bit
you
of
a
background.
comprehensive
So,
study.
Councilor Duffy is aware that area, there's a lot of chaos going in that area. Because
Yes.
you got some intersections have always stops, some of them are not. There's no rhyme or reason in that area. So one of my staff are currently evaluating and doing an entire study of that area, so that instead of just putting in one here, taking one out here, we want an entire master plan for all those intersections.
You did that.
So we're working on it.
You did that, was not done back in, you weren't on council, I think it was late 2007.
Yeah, it was just before I
So I don't know if they actually did it properly with proper traffic counts and all that. I think it was just a visual, what are we seeing out there? We're trying to do it a proper say, so that we have backup documentation as to why, because again, we also have to be leery of liability. If you put up unwarranted infrastructure, unwarranted stop sign, and there's ever an injury of any of these things, we have to have good backup documentation as to why or why not do we put that infrastructure in there. And if we don't, and we can be held liable as a city. So that's one thing we're always leery about. We also want to make sure it makes sense for the drivers as you're driving down the street. So things like that have to, we're trying to follow a process here. And so, yeah, so anytime we get a request in, goes in the queue, we get a number of requests that come in, And so it does take a lot of staff hours, and we are very limited in the number of staff we have that can do that work.
So, Mr. Chair, can I just follow up?
Yeah.
As part of your comprehensive study of these three requests, can you also provide these case studies where municipalities pursue?
I can see what's out there. Again, I don't know.
I'd like to see
I don't know how much study there is around that, but again, when you go to court, they always ask you, why did you make this decision?
Right.
Where did this recommendation come from?
Right.
So if I went up to this court and said, well, we had, mayor asked us to put a stop sign, so.
No, there was a stop sign there before the mayor asked,
Right.
and then it was taken down.
Well, see, and then there's no documentation as to why. So we want to have a base document saying, here's why or why not that stop sign should be there, so that we can rely on that and do that analysis and do all those.
All I ask.
For sure.
Timeline, are we looking
We're
3
trying,
months, 6 months,
we're
9
trying as
months?
quickly as we can.
So that's 3 months?
I would hope so, but again, one of my staff I'm losing that does it very
Mr.
soon.
Chair.
So it's challenging, yes, it's very time consuming.
Look, minimum 3 months, we can.
Yes.
Wait
Yeah.
a minute.
But we are
Go
looking at
ahead.
it, and just on Hawthorne, so we do have a meeting tomorrow night, or sorry, tonight, Wednesday, with the residents. We did hand deliver letters to each resident on Hawthorne Street last week. I think we have 7 or 8 that are coming tonight. We're gonna hear their feedback on the concerns there and try to figure out what best option for it. One of the concerns with stop signs have proven that they do not reduce traffic volumes. They just don't. What they do actually encourage is disobedience to intersections, to stop control, and actually studies show that traffic speeds increase because what people start to do is, oh, I gotta make up time now. I was delayed. So, and it also increases noise and all this stuff that we don't want to do. There are a number of other options that we can do. One of them that we're recommending, and we want to hear feedback from the residents. What is the main concern? Is it after events, or is it all day, or whatever? One of the options is a chicane. Chicane has been shown that it can reduce traffic volumes by up to 50%. So you can reduce the traffic volume cutting through by 50%. And there's a reduction in speed because the chicane's so long. You can only drive through it at 6 to 10 kilometers an hour, and it's one lane of direction. So if you've got a car already in chicane, someone's got to wait until you come out. And you sign it, you put up the proper traffic control measures. And so that it doesn't impact traffic, but it slows it down and it discourages people to go elsewhere. Now, we also have to remember though too, once you fix the traffic solution somewhere else, the neighboring street's gonna get issues. So it's a trickle down effect, and it's a balancing effect too. So we don't want to install something crazy in one street because then everyone's just gonna go to the next parallel street. So those are things that we try to balance out when we install these things.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
So just Kevin and Councilor Ramsey and Councilor Hancock have questions, but since it's Hawthorne we're discussing, so the residents are not concerned about the volume of traffic.
Okay, yeah.
That's not their concern,
Mm-hmm.
right? The concern is speed.
Yeah.
That street in particular is a strange street.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wide racing strip is what it is. And even though they'll argue with it that the street is very wide, but compared to some streets, it is, and it's a cut through. And that dictates because of enemies around it.
Yeah.
But it's such a long street. The idea of putting in the S's, you better be putting in 2 or 3 along that street, because one won't do it, because that's all that's gonna do is speed up to where like you said, with stop signs, they're just gonna take off out of that S and go flying. And the other problem I have with your S problem, and this is why I'm not really too crazy about going to the meeting, is there's 2 group homes on that street, right? And these folks are not, they don't understand a lot of things that you and I would just automatically clue into. So where are you putting them, and how is that going to affect these two group homes that are on the street, right? So the stop signs are in the middle. They would be away from both the group homes. There's already stop signs going the other way, and be prepared to get chewed to death tonight.
Yeah.
So,
And I'd like to say, one thing with the S-turn, you reduce your traffic volumes, and that speed comes right down, because you're eliminating those people that are trying to
I
come
can show you all kinds of pictures. I haven't showed them, they don't know this.
Yeah.
Different one. There's all kinds of pictures where there's brand new stop signs put up all over the city.
Yeah.
And now you're gonna tell this group they can't have stop signs. So what has to happen, Scott,
Yeah.
whether or not the essence of the thing,
Yeah.
or whatever, whether, but I've been reading, since you've been bringing up reports,
Yeah.
I've been reading them. And a lot of these reports are stating that digital display speed signs work, right? Why aren't we buying them? Why, I mean, if we got reports that say stop signs aren't necessarily the best thing, but the best speed monitoring device really is these digital solar panel, like Bobby, Councilor Devon was asking about his factory's gone funny on him, but why aren't every ward filled, got that? Because I know myself, when I come across one, I slow down.
And that's another option, so we have a number of options in our presentation for tonight, and I have it right up here.
Yeah.
So just a couple things, so on speeds right now, we did 2 tests, one last year, one this year. Average, or the 85th percentile is right around 50 kilometers was this year, which 85% population hitting that's a very good number to have.
But-
Some streets we have 60, which is not good. Then we have the average speeder. So anyone that's speeding over 40 kilometers, the average of those speeds are 48. So
But I
it's
guess
not a significant, so I'm not saying it's not a significant issue, and of course, these residents have valid concerns. I want to hear what their concerns
Yeah,
are.
but you're doing them at times when, like, the Hawthorne Avenue situation really heats up in the wintertime.
Right?
Right? Once the
Correct,
hockey,
yeah.
once the
Yeah.
hockey starts.
Yeah.
So right now, we're doing speed sentry with police officers, and they're doing a wonderful job. I mean, man, I can't say enough about how good a job the police are doing. But, we are kind of studying it at the wrong time of year.
And we can definitely-
Because
yeah.
this project started last December, right? And they're pretty mad. They think the city should have done something, but I try to explain COVID kind of put a wrench to a lot of our decision-making process for the last.
So we did do a study last December too, and we did 2 studies. We did one December 2nd through 11th, and over those days, the average 85th percentile was 52, and the average daily total in one direction, eastbound, was only 384 cars in 24-hour period, and the other direction was 455. And again, the average speeder, so people over 40 kilometers an hour, was 49 in both directions. So it's completely understand, so again, looking at this data, a stop sign are not gonna fix it. The reason why I've seen stop signs come around, there are two main concerns. One, sight lines. You can't see cars approaching, so that's a big thing that we look at when we put stop signs in. 2 is the imbalance of traffic. What's the balance of traffic? On Hawthorne Street, there is very little traffic on those side streets. And drivers that cut through know that, so what do? Rolling stops. So now, if someone's driving up to the intersection and they think that they have a stop and that car that's barreling through is going to stop for them, they might start going before they actually see this car stop. So stop signs give false safety for both drivers and pedestrians on those side streets as well. So we're trying to come up with a solution that's actually going to work for them in the long term. We don't want to put up a stop sign and just say, here you go, that's going to fix it. And then in a few months, they might be back and say it's not working. That's the concern. We want to study this. This is a unique area because we do have Eastland Center there in a residential area. We want to be able to put out a temporary S-turn, like I said, and study how it works. Is it the option? Maybe again, do we have to put 2? Maybe that will discourage it. We want to be able to put some options out there and study it and see how we can do it because we've never actually done a case study like this in the city. So to put up just stop signs, I do not think are going to be effective.
Yeah, well, you'll do all those questions today with those.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. That's the goal. I want.
I mean, we all have streets that we can go on and on and on. Like, for
Yeah.
example,
And it's-
on people coming off Moore Drive, there's a stop sign right there to turn up Maplewood. And Cheryl might sit on her front deck, and
No,
there's
it's
not
not.
a car stops,
Yeah.
and everyone speeds by our house, so anyway. But my question was, I asked the police the other night at council, I had a few inquiries about when you're leaving the little strip mall on Belvedere Avenue and going to Superstore's driveway, there is people walking back and forth there all the time, but because they will not go up to the traffic lights where the crosswalk is. And I talked to the deputy chief the other night, and he said he would be in contact with you people, so I just sort of following up, because I don't know if it's too close to the other crosswalk, I don't know all the rules and regulations.
We'll have to look at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
usually there's a distance,
Yeah.
but again, sometimes if it's the path of least resistance, we do have a high volume people crossing,
Because-
then we will look at for
Yeah,
sure.
because there is tons of people that are, like, they won't walk up, but they'll
Right.
go across, and then they'll
Because they're
go
trying to get to the,
to the strip mall
Yeah.
or Superstore, or
Right.
they're trying to get to Upper Queens.
right, yeah, so no, they haven't contacted us yet
Yeah.
about it, so.
But is that a crosswalk problem or is that a policing issue? Like,
Again, we'd have to
That's what I asked
study how big the
them, yeah.
problem it is, yeah, we'd have to.
you know, people jaywalk all the time,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And, you know, the whole idea of sharing the road, that people need to learn to be respectful of the rules and
Yeah.
laws and, you know, and we need the police.
and I don't think a crosswalk's, like, gonna, sort of deter people from still using that, because, unless you had a big flashing light
Yeah,
over, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But I just wanna bring your attention,
Yeah,
I
no,
brought it to
appreciate
the
that.
deputy chief there.
Councilor Ian.
Yeah, just back to chicanes for a second. The one, that's what they're called, aren't they?
Yeah, chicane, I'm just saying shaboos.
One thing we do need to be mindful of when it comes to those chicanes is that once people know they're there, it could cause you to pick another street that doesn't have it, so then you're gonna increase the traffic in another street.
That's
So
exactly-
you're gonna have the same problems, so you're just moving the problem around, so just, I mean, I know that I've looked them up and researched them, but there are advantages of them as well. They, there's some talk that it's hard for buses to get through them.
Yeah, so you only put them in very particular
Yeah.
locations.
I wonder about snow removal in the winter.
Well, again, we use mostly loaders in a lot of those areas, very simple to move around. They're designed so they're wide enough that you can maneuver in. You put plow markers on them, on all the corners and turns so that they know. And drivers get used to them, like our snowplow drivers.
But we
It's a
couldn't.
learning curve, but
So the plow company the plows that do our road is with a side plow. There's no
They would-
loader.
They would likely lift the wing up and just plow front ways, yeah. So they do this all across Canada and eastern US. There's chicanes are everywhere. It's very easy to do. It's just, they drive 7 kilometers like everyone else, and they just follow the S turn and they put their blade down, so they will have no issue plowing.
And just as a follow-up to my question, perhaps depending on what kind of feedback you get from the residents this evening,
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a pilot for just this year to see how it goes.
That's right.
But the problem, but Kevin hit the nail on the head, you're gonna cause cars to go up Linden Avenue. That's what you're gonna do.
Revert the traffic.
Is what you're gonna do, because it's the same cut through, the only difference is it doesn't have the mall at the other end, so people have a tendency to use Hawthorne. But if you put that chicane in, so then, and then that is a bus route, right? That is transit system on Linden Avenue. So then, now what have you done? You've created so I don't know, I just,
And that's the challenge with all these.
You have to be
you know,
careful.
Yeah. That's a challenge with anything, even stop signs. People don't like stop signs. They'll avoid them like the plague. So they'll take another route. So even putting a stop sign up, may still drive to Linden Avenue or another side street. Again, regardless of what you do, you're gonna have a trickle down effect on on the other streets. And so really at the end of the day, it's trying to balance that. I don't think you're gonna fix it 100% on each street, but it's balancing those expectations.
But I'm in agreement with the man too, like, once you do something, to slow traffic down, so they wouldn't go down there, they're gonna use the opposite street, because I do that with Skyview, Westview, Seaview.
Yeah.
They're all wetting themselves, trying to get on Northrop Road so quick,
Yeah.
but the traffic is still lined up on Northrop Road. But they're using them as sidebars, right?
how does a chicane work with fire trucks?
So they can
Emergency
easily get
services.
through. Again, there's a design standard that we will use in Canada. They're designed for trucks, buses, anything can get through them.
So, Mr. Chair, if a fire truck can get through, the city transit bus should be able to get through.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't you just throw another chicane up on Linden Avenue? If it's not deterring or hampering anybody from going through. Chicane them to death.
Stop.
Death by chicane.
Stop.
That's our new word for the day, is it?
I haven't given my marching orders, all I
You were
can.
to play in that, Delana, if you don't yield.
Two-hander.
So the chicane would be similar to what we have in North.
On Oak Drive,
On where?
Oak.
No,
No.
we don't have any. We
What do
don't
we
have
have?
any.
What do we have an Oak?
On an island.
We just have a splitter island that's to kind of narrow
Yeah.
in the roadway, so it's still a nice straight path, but it just
Is that what we have in North Road by the?
Yeah, exactly, that's just a Water Island, just to kind of bring attention to the crossing. Yeah.
Curve.
And that's working out good on North Road.
Yep. Yeah,
The water.
absolutely.
So far.
Yeah, I've heard good feedback. I
Yeah,
haven't
so
heard
did
anything
I.
negative yet, so that's
Yeah.
a good sign. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, that
so-
is a linear road. It's very straight.
Yeah.
Where do you put the curve?
So it goes in, it narrows it into one lane through. So essentially, you yield to the oncoming vehicle, you sign it properly, you follow the design standards, and essentially, one vehicle goes in and just slows through it right through it, and comes out the other end.
I'd have to see more on it, I think.
And how much space would it take up?
It would be within the similar footprint of the roadway. We wouldn't widen the road by any means, no, it'd be within the existing asphalt footprint.
It's such a long street, I'm just saying, one probably wouldn't do. But then, and so what about like, siding companies with trucks and trailers with ladders and it all can go through
Oh, of
there?
course, yeah, yeah.
Because that's, there's a couple of companies on that street too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, so what's your point here, Mr. Bishop? You brought up stop signs, so
Yeah,
are
so
you looking?
he's got a comprehensive study going on, minimum 3 months, maximum 6 months. So I'll be
Keep my ear to the
flagging
ground.
that, flagging that.
Okay.
Follow
No.
that. But with the
Down the water.
the new
Yeah.
It's just-
adequate Assembly of Councils building, they are crying out for something to be done sooner than later. And Miguel and Ambrose, as the council from the area knows,
I'm gonna guess,
they continue to talk about it.
with the pedestrian traffic in that area, I would be, I guess, I'm quite confident it will hit the triggers for a four-way stop, especially because we will factor in the cruise ship, even though it's not there now, that's another number we would factor into that.
So why would you figure in the cruise ship versus the Civic Center?
So,
And,
Civic Center,
don't forget Atlantic
Yep.
Lotto,
yep,
right? Harness race is coming.
Yep,
Like,
and we-
these streets take a big volume of
Yeah.
traffic, right?
but again,
At different times.
you need to have the balance of traffic coming from all directions. If you have no traffic from those side streets, people just ignore
You
it.
haven't been around there your whole home, have you?
But again.
You have no idea how many people
Hawthorne
come.
gets blocked off.
There's
right?
thousands and thousands of people come to
But
some of
that's-
these streets and
but
put their
that's
own
engineered
home.
for 1 week versus 365 days a year.
And the council from the area, Water Street is a direct link from Stratford right into the city.
Yeah.
Out of the city in the evening, because I go over there in the evening just to,
Mm.
go over the plan.
And the
of this road.
motorcycles are screeching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Well, see, I'm getting motorcycles going on one wheel. They come off St. Albert's Mall, and they, St. Peter's Road.
One wheel.
They go up and do wigglies all the way down Hawthorne Avenue. But unfortunately, the police don't see this. I don't know why, if everyone else sees it. You know,
You know what, guys, the moral of the story that we've been pounding ourselves to death with this for 1,000 years. John Q. Public gotta take responsibility. They gotta slow down, and whether they do or not, like, I've been on council now for near 7 years, and we've been hearing the same issue in the same wards, in every ward, people are speeding.
well,
And you're going along crosswalks and there's a light to flash, 99% of them do not press that little button. And it's so frustrating.
well, to me, some of the issues, I mean, we can put in all the safeguards you want, but
That's right.
policing for me is I know right now they're doing a wonderful job of public engagement. You know, I think every one of these residents on Hawthorne have been knocked on the door by a police officer. It's been great, but you need to ticket people, right? You can't sit on the side of the road and ticket people. They see you and they slow down. If the police would sit on side streets, like I asked them to use my driveway, sit in my driveway. You know, oh, well, if we're hiding, well, then they can fight that in court. You know, and so, to me, then you start talking legal technicalities of putting in a stop sign, legal. Look, at the end of the day, we're in a political ring here, and that can't be forgotten. And I think it is. Like, we're getting, so, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you guys can make your decisions, and you go on about it for the next 15 years, 20 years, you're ready to retire. But that decision you're making, Scott, is gonna determine whether Terry McLeod is getting in or not again in that area. And so, yeah, we need to juggle, right? There's 100 and some signatures on that list, and if they don't get stop sign, I don't care what you tell them tonight, I won't get the votes. And that's just how, this is what this comes down to, right? Is you know, this is an older community They're firemen, they've been around, they know what they're talking about, and they want sunshine. And I just don't think it's a trial area. I'm not saying this chicane business isn't good, I just think you gotta pick a generation of people that are more apt for change. And you're not gonna get it, these people have been like parking up on the driveways and lawns, for years. They've been, traffic isn't their problem. It's the speed. They've got young kids on the street now. It's kind of regenerated itself. There's judges, there's business people, there's firemen. They know what they want, and it's. I don't.
You're not invited tonight?
Huh?
You're not invited tonight?
Oh well, I'm not going. Anyway, let's move on. Patio, Great George Street Bakery. Would you like to start?
Sure. I appreciate Public Works' idea to pilot this. It hasn't gone over well. It's, I think because it's a historical street, we need to think a little bit more about what's reflective of Great George. And I think I was imagining maybe like a little wrought iron, little rope fence with a few tables and chairs. I don't know. I don't think it should continue after this year, unless it goes to either design review so that they can actually look for the historic nature of what it should look like. So, I heard from a lot of residents.
Where's it at?
It's on Great George. There's a gallery and a bakery
Right
there.
across from the
And I understand why they wanted it, it's COVID, they were looking for a little, but I must say, it does look a bit like a dance floor.
It's a
Like,
big
it's
patio.
big. I don't think it reflects the historical nature of that street, but I would be interested to hear what the other committee members' thoughts are.
Well, a lot of our patios, if I may, Mr. Chair, some we increased just for this year, did we not? But then we're gonna go back to what, is it Mr. Kelly, 26?
Good luck.
That we allow in the city?
That depends on what happens after COVID. Some of those will want to stay.
Just to clarify, Councilor Ramsey, this did not go to council, this is on the city's right of way.
Oh, okay.
It's
It's not on the road.
This isn't an easement, this was an operational decision to try and pilot.
Okay.
And the committee was given kind of the FYI of what they were gonna try. So this is totally different, correct me if I'm wrong, than the,
That's correct, yeah.
So for me, my 2 cents worth, that piece of Great George Street, the history, especially when Parliament House comes back, the walking down from the wharf up to the Parliament, there's a scenic view to all that, right? The lovely grass and the trees on both sides of the road. To me, this thing is just like it fell into space, and I never anticipated seeing to be so close to the trees. Damage to the trees is quite possibility, and huge. It's just big, for a bakery. It's a big deck, but we have been hearing a lot of concerns about it, but we'll have to wait till the end of the trial to see where we're at.
And that was why we brought here originally.
Yeah,
for this year only, and
That's
I
right.
just hope
Yeah.
the businesses were told that clearly. That
Yes,
this was-
they are.
good.
Because they
that
put
was
a lot of
our
money
main
into their infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of wood.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And the price
you,
works.
again, I don't recall this coming up, but it was in the June 3rd meeting,
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
And I think I left, and I'm not getting away from anything, but I looked at the drawings. The width is 57 feet 8 inches. And the drawing shows it circled around the trees.
Yeah, and that was reviewed by,
So all the, I know Councilor Yang, this
Yeah.
was coming to us as information, because we do have an encroachment agreement with the Home and Grant, right? They're on our sidewalk.
that's correct, yeah.
There's also an encroachment agreement with 70 Grafton, the pilot house. Are they on some of our, because I saw something for 70 Grafton.
No, yes, so the patio portion is on their property.
Right.
The encroachment part is the brickwork up to and over top of
So
it. They
we-
wanted to replace the.
So we allowed that, which is a great design. It's taken away any parking that was there for Dookie Fields and family. And then we have other encroachment agreements.
Yeah, we have lots of encroachment agreements, many front porches are on the
Mr.
city
Chair,
property.
there was no vote on it.
No,
Like, it
No.
was just.
Wasn't a council decision.
No.
no.
Mr. Chair, I think we were kind of led to believe that, well, we may do this and we may not do this, but it's only going to be an incidental little thing.
Yeah.
Did we have those drawings on the third?
Yes, they were part of the package.
Part of the package?
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
I guess it's, until you see it built, it's kind of.
I saw it yesterday.
yeah, and
It looks like a rouse.
Councilor Duffy, we also dealt with the enterprise
That's
plate
floating deck, floating deck.
issue at that same meeting.
Same meeting.
Yeah, I think did we have them brought in by, or was it just a report?
I think it was just a report that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So there was a lot on the agenda, and so was the raccoon and the skunk issue for the fourth time.
Who will ever forget that?
Yeah, because with this patio, it was just discussed a little bit with us, but at that time, they didn't know if they're gonna build it or not, I think, Mike, does that?
Did it not go to count? It didn't go to
No,
council?
no, it's strictly a pilot.
No, it didn't.
This was an
Yeah.
operational.
Just a staff operational
Yeah,
pilot.
that's right.
And
Yeah.
the reason why I came here is I had concern because it was such a historical nature. Kind of want the blessing and discussion amongst the
Right.
council here, or committee here, sorry, to have a quick review and see if they saw anything alarming or, you know, at that point in time, if you guys would have said no, then we would have said likely no because of the historical nature. But we did as a group, I think everyone said, you know, let's try it as a 1-year pilot,
Yep.
which was, as far as I know, because the planning does up the final documents, the encroachment document, but we did direct them that it was a clearly stated 1-year encroachment agreement,
Yep.
and the business owner, I did discuss with them, it's 1-year trial, and we reevaluate at the end of the
I
year.
hope so, because,
And that's what the basis was, Mr. Chair. I think, I wasn't here for the discussion, that it was a pilot project, and let's try it for 1 year.
it's a lot of wood to spend on for a pilot. Holy cow.
But again, it's helping him with the whole, him and his partner have been greatly assisted by all that extra space
It's busy.
because of COVID-19.
Sunday, I was there Sunday, and it was very busy on the.
Busy, yes.
Oh, it's,
Was it?
every place has been. But,
And it's under those beautiful trees.
But there could be a way that maybe you could go through design review and have more of a historical look to it, like the old fashioned, you know,
Right.
garden parties with the wrought iron and the little wrought iron
Good
tables
point.
and chairs. Then it becomes more fitting to the area, and I think that then, I think everyone would be more accepting
Yeah,
that.
I believe at the time planning looked at it with their heritage, and it did not fall within that, like it wasn't a mandate of, or part of the definition.
It
like,
didn't come to heritage.
But I would have to.
Didn't come to
No.
Heritage.
Or planning.
Maybe it went to planning staff, but it never came.
Yeah, because I believe it didn't have to, according to bylaws, yeah.
This was all just an operational thing. That's
yeah,
fine.
just
Yeah.
strictly.
You know what I mean?
Mr. Chair, you know yourself, and I know Councilor Ramsey thinks, you know, this is a lame excuse, COVID-19, but again, looking just at the news, 365 in Ontario, it is a very serious situation.
I didn't mean
No, I know,
to say it
but
was a
I-
lame excuse,
but I-
I'm just saying
but-
that our city's starting to come back a little bit.
We've dodged, you know, the bullet.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the expertise of the chief public health office and
Yeah.
all their staff, but it's been very challenging for businesses.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's was the purpose of
Yeah.
opening it up. And, you know, we didn't always get it perfect.
No,
I
my
think
point
a
was
lot of
the vehicles
cases we
were-
did, it worked out well.
Yeah.
Just sometimes it,
I mean, my point was just with the vehicles, because it's still stuck in my head, how one dealership can sort of guarantee something, why 18 others can't guarantee it. That's all I was saying. And does he have an inside thing or something that, like COVID is COVID, we all know that. And that's the whole 9 yards, so I didn't say that as a lame excuse.
no, but I don't, it's a
Let the
very,
record
we've been very, very lucky
Oh,
because of
very lucky.
the leadership from all over.
Yeah,
Provincial
And I would-
and municipal.
Yeah. So,
and I always paid attention.
is there anything else to discuss? We just want to make a point on the patio that some residents are not overly pleased. And there might be a
Yeah.
happy medium to fit in there somewhere when we eventually get to that point next year. So, anything else to discuss? All good? I guess I need one more motion.
No,
Councilor Duffy, seconded by
that was
Councilor
for
Ramsey.
shoulder, Mike.
For adjournment. Have.